Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I always get asked, Prof, what's an underrated champion in your brain in MCOC? Who's somebody who's just underrated, underappreciated? And I always say the same thing. Hawkeye. Before the buff, I thought Hawkeye was extremely underrated. Why? Because he was one of the few champions that all you needed really to use him best was his special one. And yeah, it wasn't very recoil damage free with full suicides, but still, especially with some points and deep wounds. Great bleed damage, particularly with the Awaken ability. Power drain for days. So I was a little surprised when Hawkeye was announced, but I also thought, well, the Hawkeye show is coming out soon, so that makes sense. And so, with that being said, we have a champion spotlight on Hawkeye. And I always skip the description and go straight to the mechanics. Because we all know who Hawkeye is, right? You don't need to waste time on that. The world's greatest marksman is back with a fresh quiver of trick arrows, in addition to his bleed and power drain, which thank God they kept that in. Hawkeye has new abilities, which expand his utility while supporting his core strengths. Looks like he's been working out. Utilizing the new perfect release mechanic will not only increase debuff duration, but will grant additional effects to Hawkeye's special attacks that build on their core utility. Special 3s are now ultra deadly, as a high crit rating can see long and devastating critical bleeds. Finally, new and updated synergies grant Hawkeye even further utility. Not even stone-skinned champions are safe from Hawkeye's trick arrows. Stone-skinned is an Korgan thing? That's what I think of. Although the phrase rock-hard thorn still makes me uncomfortable. Alright. Basic abilities: slow, bleed, suppression, fragility. Strengths and weaknesses: power control. Woo! Hawkeye is able to deplete 75% of a bar of power from the opponent with every special one, and inflicts a suppression debuff with a perfect release. Bleed. Depending on his critical rating, Hawkeye can potentially inflict critical bleeds with twice the duration during his special 3. Weaknesses: bleed immunity, just as we talked about with Joe can't fix his own tie currently. Hawkeye's damage is reliant on being able to bleed an opponent. Champions that are immune to bleed will be a big problem for him. Corner node. Hawkeye's powerful bleeds can backfire against nodes like this one. And then abilities. Dialed in. During special attacks, press the block after the first hit input to slow down time. Whoa. Releasing the block input precisely when Hawkeye releases the arrow grants a perfect release bonus. I used to play a game growing up called Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. I actually talked to the great Brian Grant about it once, and we kind of geeked out about it. And so there was timed hits on that, and this makes me think of the Super Mario RPG version of the Marvel Casino of Champions. Hopefully somebody out there besides Brian Grant appreciates that reference. Activating a perfect release bonus grants a dialed-in passive, increasing duration of debuffs inflicted by special attacks by 10%. I wish it was 20%. 10% just, I don't know. On paper, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. If you time it right, you should get 20%. That's what I say. All dialed-in stacks are removed when failing to activate a perfect release bonus max 5. Man, that perfect release bonus has got some pretty big pressure on it, especially when dropped inputs happen. Basic attacks: pause all bleed debuffs on the opponent for 1 second. Developer's note: keeping up the offensive and controlling power with Hawkeye Special 1 is a good way to maintain a deadly stack of bleeds. Heavy attacks: cause a slow debuff on the opponent for 10 seconds. Special attacks: final hit. 100% chance to inflict a bleed debuff, dealing 2,369 direct damage over 10 seconds. Each bar of power spent beyond 1 grants +1 bleed and +5 seconds duration. Oh, that's kind of cool. A perfect release, an arrow attack becomes a guaranteed critical hit. Special attack, EMP Arrow. 100% chance to inflict a power drain, removing 75% of a bar of power. I kind of wish they'd buff that slightly to 100% of a bar of power, but again, maybe I'm just being too greedy. I don't know. And then perfect release, 100% chance to inflict a suppression debuff, reducing the opponent's combat power rate by 50% for 8 seconds. Hawkeye Special 1 is your bread and butter. It has a 100% chance to trigger a power drain and is very reliable in many situations where you need access to power control. With Hercules on the team, draining the opponent's power will grant Hawkeye a lengthy and powerful Fury buff. That is awesome, and those of you who have Hercules already love using him to begin with. So Hercules players rejoice with Hawkeye. That's my takeaway so far. That's going to be the title of this video. Incendiary Arrow, 100% chance to inflict a 25-second fragility debuff. Attacking a fragile opponent grants +900 critical damage rating and reduces block efficiency by 50%. So maybe do a special 2 then a special 1? Developer's notes, the Special 2's 25-second fragility debuff will juice up the damage on all those critical bleeds, helping shorten the time to set up the perfect kill shot. Yeah, Special 2 and a Special 1. Special 3, Explosive Barrage. If they say that about you in college, that could be a good thing or a very bad thing. All bleeds triggered during this attack gain up to 200% duration based on Hawkeye's critical rating. Based on Hawkeye's critical chance, bleeds triggered during this attack can be critical bleeds, multiplying the bleed's potency by Hawkeye's critical damage multiplier. Who says Special 3s can't crit bleed? Keep your crit rating high with the Precision Mastery, and you'll see deadly critical bleeds with up to double the duration. And then the signature ability, same name. Landing a critical hit with an arrow shot will cause any personal bleed debuff trigger to become a critical bleed, multiplying the bleed's potency by Hawkeye's critical damage multiplier. Additionally, each bleed debuff on the opponent reduces their physical resistance by 552.53. Hawkeye's signature ability is paramount to his kit, granting him the ability to inflict his deadly critical bleeds. Awaken him to unlock his maximum potential. All right, unique synergies. We got Abomination, Immortal Abomination, Diablo, and King Groot. I actually use Immortal Abomination and Diablo most out of those. Hawkeye Arrow strikes pause all slow debuffs on the opponent for 6 seconds per level. Other synergy champions plus 7% attack. And then unique synergy with MODOK, Old Balls Logan, X23, and Weapon X. What about regular Wolverine? What about the OG? Arrow strikes remove all rock stacks and rock charges from the opponent. That's clutch. Real clutch. Wow. And then Nick Fury, Black Widow, Deadly Origin, and Quake gain immunity to poison debuffs from non-mutant champions. So did they change the Quake synergy? Oh. All champions gain plus 5% power gain. We got friends. All right, I already talked about deep wounds. Anytime you have bleed damage, you got to know that deep wounds is possible. I'm guessing the Quake synergy was with Quake, not with him. So the Quake synergy should remain the same, right? I made that mistake last time where I forgot that it was which champion the synergy was activated from. So until proven wrong, let's just be optimistic about Quake. Hawkeye Special 3 bleed damage is relying on how high your crit rating is. Maximize your potential for critical bleeds with the Precision Mastery. That's just good advice in general. You know, Hercules is going to benefit most from these, given the champions that you normally bring in, other than like Quake and Immortal Abomination, Diablo, etc. I think out of the two buffs, I'm slightly more optimistic for Hawkeye, but then again, I figured I was more cautious with Nebula than optimistic because Nebula was already so good. Now she's just like a beyond god tier shock truck master. So who knows? Maybe Joe Fixit and Hawkeye will be like that. I don't think we expect every buff champion to be god tier or beyond god tier. We just want them to be fun, and I think this will hopefully accomplish that. Even though Hawkeye was, like I said at the beginning of this video, still good. Have a good rest of your night or morning or whatever time you choose to click on this video. I appreciate that you did. Thanks for watching.